Holy crap, that's such a hit.
So they released their top 10 offenses. Colorado's number 8.
This moment in sports history will be remembered as one of the better fights, man. Like,
Put the cherry on top, they played Austria today. Guess the score of that game? 32-25 to not medal for Braun.
Hello and welcome to episode 10 of Bros and the Bleachers podcast. We have a new face here with me today. Go ahead and introduce yourself.
My name's Josh. First
So we
time, long
have-
time.
Yes, we have Josh, a faithful viewer of the Bros and the Bleachers podcast. Josh is very knowledgeable about sports as well. We only like to have knowledgeable guests. So Josh is quite versatile in baseball, football knowledge, you name it.
Either the most knowledgeable or the most confident when they're wrong.
Yeah, that's the truth, isn't it? But so Josh is a faithful fan, so he knows the laydown of the show. So as he knows, we're going to start off with this day in sports history.
On this day in sports history.
For me today, I had a 1997 Wade Boggs, third baseman of the New York Yankees, pitched a scoreless inning against the Los Angeles Anaheim Angels, if you want to
Word
call
salad
them.
of a sports team, yeah.
Yeah. So I didn't know that. I didn't know Wade Boggs went in as a relief pitcher for a little bit and then pitched a scoreless inning at that.
That's amazing. That almost like reminds me of like what was the one a while ago that was the Cubs first baseman, Anthony Rendon, his little pitching output that he has. He's never given up a run or like a hit or something in his last
Oh.
like 3 appearances or something. He's like one of the best position player pitchers.
Oh,
Which
I had
again
no
is-
idea.
It's something like that, but you said he was a third baseman? That's fun. Wade Boggs.
Yeah, because now you got these guys coming in out of the bullpen, or not even just substitution players coming in to pitch relief innings because they don't want to tire the bullpen up. So
That's where I would pick like an hour of my week and I'd be like, I'm just gonna learn to throw a ephus. Like that's it. Just
throwing
in case.
throwing 50-mile-an-hour lollipops down Main Street.
Yes.
But
I
that's
never
what I have.
expect it.
No, it's definitely a old curveball in the literal sense.
So the one that I had this day on sports history is that in 1991, Dale Jarrett and Darby Allison, both in Ford Thunderbirds, fun little fact, won. Dale Jarrett won by just 8 inches in the champion Sparkplug 400 at Michigan International Speedway. Now, if you were going to take a guess, where would that rank on, according to the Wikipedia page, the top 66 closest finish in NASCAR? Where would you guess?
Closest I would place it 6th.
See, it's a trick question because it's not even on the list.
Oh, damn. You
But yeah,
bamboozled.
I think the more interesting bit of a fun factory from there is that that one win for Jarrett won the team and driver $74,000.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, as compared to nowadays, I just Googled it since it is the weekend. This weekend they are in Michigan. Reportedly, it said that the prize pool now is like 7.9 million. So just a interesting little, what was that, 91? That's, who knows math, 23 years ago.
Yeah, maybe I'll pull up the inflation calendar and pop it right here. But
A lot of it could just be the economy of scale too. Just like NASCAR's more popular now, I would assume, than 91, maybe.
It was still growing. I think the peak of its popularity was definitely the early 2000s, and then you can't deny and say that it didn't decrease in popularity with the changes that they've made. But however, that's a good question. I have to figure that out.
Oh yeah, but I thought that one was fun, and I love me some sports car racing, all
You
types.
said that was Ned Jarrett or
Dale Jarrett.
Dale,
Mhm.
Dale. Okay, that's right. I'm sure he was racing for Joe Gibbs Racing at that point in the old Interstate Batteries car throwback.
I think I got rid of it, but it was some. I don't remember who it was, but it was like their 94th win or something.
Oh, okay. Oh, maybe he
Woods.
wasn't
Oh,
racing
it was
for
Woods'
Joe.
brother. It was Woods' brother.
Yep. Legendary NASCAR team.
Oh yeah.
All right. Well, hey, I got some more NASCAR stuff a little bit to sprinkle on a little later. But that'll wrap up for this day in sports history. We're gonna move on and mosey on over to current events around sports. Josh, was there anything you saw this week in sports?
As you know, it's the heart of the preseason right now, which means there's a lot of fun battles going on, position battles, none more important than the QB. And so I picked 4 teams here that we're going to run down, talk about their, battles, kind of predict who we think will make it, or who will be the starting quarterback. And so first of all, we have the Pittsburgh Steelers. Obviously, it's a fight between Fields versus Wilson. I don't think Wilson has played any preseason game. I think it's mostly been Fields. Um,
Interesting.
so, I mean, it seems more than likely it'll probably be Wilson, and I would definitely take my pick because it would be Wilson, which I mean, as an Ohio State fan, it's kind of a bit of a boo. But I think a lot of that is just Tomlin likes to keep his stuff in structure, right? Like hasn't had what losing season at all. And I mean, he won 14 games with Kenny Pickett, and I'm an Eagles fan, and I've been watching Kenny Pickett play, and that's incredible. I don't know how you do that. They should build him a statue. but I think it'll probably be Wilson. What are your thoughts on Pittsburgh?
Well, all I know is that Justin Field had those 2 fumbles at the line of scrimmage, so that didn't really help his case to bolster him up as a QB1 competitor. How it played out uh for their second game, I'm not sure. Have they already played their second preseason game?
I'm pretty sure they had. I don't. I think it was probably more of the same.
Woof. But that's surprising. I mean, I can't imagine him having to learn a new offense and his athletic ability. I don't know. I feel
Because that's
oh,
certainly the plus side is the like athletic ability of Justin Fields. But I don't know if you're um, Mike Tomlin, if you really care for somebody that's going to run out of structure.
they did play. They played Buffalo and it was
Yeah.
9-3.
Oh. So I don't know. It might be done and dusted, and I don't even know if we're gonna see him for the third preseason game. It could just be all scrubs out there trying to compete for those final however many roster spots they're gonna leave to whatever other position battles they have.
Justin did have 1 fumble. He rushed for 42 yards on 8 carries, and he went 11 for 17 with 92 yards passing with only 1 sack. So not that bad.
Not terrible. I mean, it'll be interesting to see what their first weeks of the season look like with Wilson, and if somebody wants to replace him with Fields, and then whether or not that's better or worse, who knows? Guy's a gamer.
Yeah, X Factor potentially.
No danger witches in that in that locker.
Yeah, the Danger Witch.
So the second big battle that's been happening is for the Denver Broncos, which is reportedly between Bo Nix and Jared Stidham, and Zach Wilson, I guess, is warming a bench somewhere else. Um, Personally, I think it's another chalk pick. I think it's Bo Nix. I think if you're Sean Payton, that's the guy you drafted. That's the guy you want to play. You need him to play. You want to be good. XYZ. Yeah.
Sean Payne's continuously talking about how Bo Nix is so legit, super legit. He loves him. He loves his ability as a quarterback, the dynamic ability. I think he has to start. Who wants to start Jared Stidham? I'm sorry.
We've probably seen enough of Jarrett Stidham. We've seen enough of Bo Nix in college on the NFL.
2 Auburn quarterbacks, but I guess Oregon will claim Bo Nix probably now since
I
Bo
would think
Nix
so.
stunk on ice in Auburn. But
Which was that Harson? Who knows? We never know. But yeah, I guess Sean Payton says the decision is expected September 8th, which I don't know seems a bit deep, if especially from what we feel, which is that he's already basically made his mind up. So
yeah,
it's just like, why are you splitting those first team reps anyways? They seem to be the most important thing that you need for your brand new starting quarterback. But
well, the game against Green Bay tonight will probably tell us a lot more of what
yeah,
they're going to game plan with.
and I think it'll be interesting because I mean, I myself have been a preseason bettor. It's been not bad. A lot of it for me is just betting head coaches because Sean Payton is a try hard and they are going to try to win that game. So I would almost definitely lock down that as like an over. But yeah, I think that moves us right along. And another team that played yesterday, the Raiders. I watched a little bit of that game. If Dak Prescott's hurt, the Cowboys are screwed. But it's another fight between Aiden O'Connell and Gardner Minshew. Personally, I mean, I think it's Minshew. You probably are just going to go with the veteran guy over the guy that you had to bench last year. Not that there aren't upsides. I think maybe with Aiden O'Connell, he had a good first half of the year last year. And then I know from a lot of my Raiders coworkers, because I personally live in Vegas, that they were so out on Aiden O'Connell by maybe week 5 or 6. They were just like, all right, wait for the draft. Hopefully we get Caleb Williams, is what they were saying.
Yeah, no kidding. But they rotated around 3 QBs, and they had Carter Bradley out of South Alabama. And whether he makes the team, I don't know. But
Yeah.
I would like to make a point. Imagine being Jake when he does listen to this and going to LA instead of going to this game to watch them win.
Oh my god.
Him betting the under, I think, or over. No, he bet the over because
He bet the over.
because he's a hooligan. He could have bet the over in this game and had a lot more fun and stayed home.
This is a guy who's a glass half full sort of guy. I definitely live bet the under, but it was 3-3, I think 5 minutes into the first quarter. It was at 39.5, which the total ended at 39. So I was like, whoo. But yeah, skin of the teeth. And so that brings us to our fourth one, which I think is probably the most interesting one just for where I think we can take it, which is the Minnesota Vikings. And a lot of it is more centered around, do we think Sam Darnold will make it to their bye week, which is week 6? So their week goes as following, right? In week 1, they're playing the Giants. I realize I just put New York, which doesn't narrow it down, but whatever. I know it's the Giants. I just looked at the list. And then week 2 is San Fran, which will be a hard game to play, surely. And then they go Houston, Green Bay, and then to the Jets. So that's a pretty good murderer's row of defenses. And I think a lot of it centers around just, is Justin Jefferson going to be happy with
probably
whatever
not.
they're doing? Will he be traded, or will Sam Darnold be traded? I mean, or will they trade for a quarterback? I guess I don't think they would trade Sam Darnold. There's no value there. But do they try to get another quarterback to try to put another Band-Aid on? Or do they just go full blow it up?
I don't think they'll blow it up. They can't get rid of they're literally the best receiver in the NFL. And from last year when the Vikings were on that major skid, what do they lose, like 5 games or 4 games to start out the season?
Mm-hmm.
You didn't really hear too much Justin Jefferson complaining. At least I didn't.
Yeah.
Guess he's not too much of a diva, but he got Sam Darnold. He's somewhat mobile, can make good plays, but that's about maybe 30 to 20% of the time. And then
Right.
who you got backing him up? Nick Mullins. Every time you see Nick Mullins, he maybe has 1 good or 2 good quarters, and then that's it. That's all you're getting out of him.
I just remember him having flow, and I think that was fun. And then that was about the extent of it.
And then Jaron Hall. I don't even know who Jaron Hall is. I'm sorry. Oh, BYU. Well, that's all you need to know. And then they have Matt Corral, former Ole Miss QB, who got drafted to Carolina and left. So good for him that he got to leave that misery. But
a little bit of kick the tires.
Yeah, kick the tires. See how that goes. Probably practice more QB.
Organizationally, you can't believe anything that comes out of Carolina as far as like a scouting report for a player. It's like you probably just have to bring him in and see, because that is just such a poorly run organization.
David Tepper, king of throwing drinks at his own fans who pay money to go watch this team.
Oh man.
But
that's all it is. Those are all the QB battles that I saw reported. I mean, Carson Wentz looked pretty good for the Chiefs.
Did he now?
No, not really. I mean, Patrick Mahomes threw a backward pass in that same game. So I think his job is, I think it's safe to say, that one is a lock.
I'm just happy that Carson Wentz has more team apparel to add to his collection when he practices in spring, when he's trying to get picked up by another team. So
I hope it gets to the point where he's alternating cleats from teams he's played for.
But I'll go ahead and tail off. I went to the Miami-Washington preseason game yesterday. I'll add some photos and videos of some of what I took.
You guys from Virginia?
I used to live there. I used to live in Richmond for a few years.
Okay.
But born and raised here. How about yourself?
Fairfax, born and raised.
Okay.
What did
Oh, what a catch! B-Rob? B-Rob?
But I want to make a point. Miami's adding fake crowd noise at a preseason game on third down. What do you think of that?
I mean, is their crowd normally loud? Because I know you can't extend like the University of Miami's crowd to the Dolphins, because that is a Dolphin city. I mean, it's like about the only. I mean, besides the Heat, like that's about the only team they really care about. So I mean, is it a third down early in the game? It's probably not that
Oh.
loud. Is it a third down middle of the game? All the people have showed up after all the traffic. It's probably loud as heck. So
No, they were pumping crowd noise in the first quarter on third down, and I'm sitting there and thinking, why is it so loud? It's these guys can't, and then they paused it, and then it's silent.
that's hilarious. It's just
But-
everybody being like, that could be us.
Yeah, but I will give credit. It did get loud sometimes during some big down the field plays. So I will give credit where credit is due to the Miami fans. It was loud, but
Mhm.
not to the point where it's third down and you're screaming at the Commanders for Jaden Daniels or Jeff Driscoll to have
Which Daniels he's looked good, which I think is most exciting for you, obviously.
a little worrisome potentially, but I will reserve my temper. I'll reserve my expectations because I always get hurt. So
Yeah. I mean, you would hope. I mean, hopefully they finish third in the division, maybe second if we're happy.
I will.
Lucky.
Yeah, it's third. If Dallas decides to do Dallas things, maybe they get second. I'm not gonna stake a claim in saying they'll be second, but
I mean, the problem is just the floor of like having Dak Prescott out there just pretty much assures you second or first in the division, which is
hey, I think
you
it's
wish
the
for.
NFC beast this season, not the NFC least, as
Absolutely.
haters would like to say. But
You get one off year and everybody wants to change the rules as the division with the most Super Bowls. Like, come on. Be
and
realistic.
then I'd like to make a point. They signed Trace McSorley, former Penn State quarterback. He sacked himself in the second half. He literally tripped and sacked himself. Nobody touched him. So thanks for coming out, Trace. We appreciate your fourth quarter play as quarterback, and because that's when I left because I was like, I need to leave. I can't watch this anymore.
Might be his NFL highlight. I mean, he won't be the first or last quarterback to sack himself, but it's not good if that's your probably single highlight.
I really want to find a mid QB, a backup meme of a QB, and just do the F it so and so highlights, and then
It's like one of those random videos you get at like 3 a.m. when you're waking up on the couch and YouTube's still playing it. Like, oh crap, I gotta go to bed.
epic Kenny Pickett highlights. Putting on his gloves.
Best plays from the Sun Belt Conference in 2007.
But that's all I had for my football stuff, and then I'll just babble on some baseball. Jordan Alvarez in batting practice broke the Tampa Bay Rays scoreboard.
He's definitely, I mean, if you look at the flag back there, he's certainly one of those ones that got away when you're the Guardians and you want to power bat forever, and then you let Yandy, what did you say, Yandy Diaz, right?
Yandy
When
Diaz.
He wanders away, and I love watching that guy's yacked arms blow up baseballs for 400 plus feet. It's amazing.
Oh, yeah. Another one, Framil Reyes. Framil? Was that another one? Yeah, he
Yeah.
had huge arms.
He was that guy. His whiff percentage was bad. But when he
Yikes.
got it there, I mean, I could like literally like it was Encarnacion was I think the big one that they got, and he was tremendous. And then it was Franmil after that. Then Josh Bell had a stint. And so
Oh,
yeah,
We both had our fair share of Josh Bell together.
yeah, he stunk like with the Guardians, and then he visits and he hits like 3 home runs in those series, and I'm like,
Well,
I guess he's got an axe to grind.
yeah, serious. Apparently. And then I had Jackson Merrill. I don't know if you saw his baseball bat, but he has a glow in the dark Star Wars lightsaber bat.
That's sick.
It was pretty sick.
I know I saw a Cran one. I don't remember who had it. Was it Gunner? Nope. It was Harrison Bader.
Oh, okay, yeah, he's been known to have I've some cool stuff apparently.
Yeah, it's a pink Cran bat.
Interesting play.
Which all of this is service to just let them have their names on the back of the jerseys again. I mean, if Rich Hill is in the league, he should have a name on the back of his jersey that says D Mountain. I mean, that's it's got to happen. Which he might have retired. He's not retired. No, that guy's gonna pitch until he's 50.
Last time I remember he was on the Red Sox being like 5th or 4th in the rotation, but Rich Hill is elite.
I guess he's on the Padres.
Oh, how about that? I didn't know that.
One win, 4 losses, I guess, this year. So he's soaking some innings, an 8.23 ERA. So it might not have been a long stint there.
Yeah, he's quite the journeyman, that's for sure.
Oh yeah.
And then transferring from baseball, another former baseball player. I don't know if you saw this, but University of Oklahoma will be fielding potentially a 29-year-old freshman wide receiver named Monte Harrison after having a 10-year MLB career.
Apparently, he was the key trade piece for Christian Yelich.
Really?
Yeah.
To go to the Brewers?
I guess I'll have to pull. I think so. I'll have to pull up that trade.
That's insane.
But yeah, he's now gonna be a 29-year-old starting wide receiver for Arkansas, which again.
Oh wait, I got that wrong. I said Oklahoma. Apologies. It's Arkansas.
Arkansas, yeah.
I don't know why I saw Oklahoma. Same colors, kind of. Sorry. Continue.
But yeah, I mean, if their quarterback's as good as he is in NCAA football 25, like that guy gets open, he'll get the ball.
Yeah, I'm 29 and thinking of playing professional amateur college football at my age sounds pretty tough, but
I mean, I don't think I could dust him off.
No, I could not either.
So it says that for this trade, right, real quick, Christian Yelich to the Brewers in exchange for baseball's number 13 prospect at the time, Lewis Brinson, infielder Izan Diaz, and outfielder Monte Harrison. So, and right-hander Jordan Yamamoto. So I don't think any of those guys have really had anything besides Monte Harris now being a college football player. So
yeah.
So the Brewers won the trade. We can say it. Send the tweets out now.
Right. Even I think Christian Yelich just got hurt too, but the Brewers have been pretty good this year. So
yeah, he just got shut down for the year, which he's had a pretty good social media outrolling.
Is that right?
This year, I think he's got to be paying somebody, but yeah, he had a whole little video with like audio behind it, and he's just like, "I'm shut down." And you're like, "Oh."
Damn, because he's been plagued, and I was hoping this would be the first season he didn't have to. Well, maybe he was. I don't know if he was hurt last year, but his batting average was pretty pitiful.
Yeah.
But going on from that, just something quick. Nick Cage was casted as John Madden for a biopic.
Mm-hmm.
Nick Cage looks pretty old, and I could see maybe adding a few little stuff to make him look more like John Madden. Maybe add like 30 pounds.
Oh yeah, we'll circle back to that for my bencher play because I got that as my play.
Oh, okay. Yeah, feel for more to elaborate on, but that'll finish our current events. We're now going to move on to our bencher play segment. I'm playing again this week. I was going to have a bench, but I decided to move it for worst best tweet. But my play this week is Mark Martin Mark Martin, former NASCAR driver, pretty good. Raced for Roush Fenway, also for Hendrick Motorsports. So Mark Martin, previously a few weeks back, was on an interview talking about what kind of music he listened to, and he is a self-proclaimed big Gucci Mane fan.
Oh yeah, aren't we all?
And this Friday, Gucci Mane just released a new album, and on this first song, the first track, he has Mark Martin talking about how big of a Gucci Mane fan he
That's
is.
awesome.
In the preface, Mark Martin's about in his 60s. So I just thought that was hilarious. I thought that
I mean,
was great.
that's the ideal 60-year-old dream for me. I mean, I'll have subwoofers out the wazoo in the back, and I'm at least like bouncing my bifocals off my face as I'm rolling down the road.
Yeah. And then just a quick, I guess this week too with the Michigan race. Mark also in 2012 racing for Michael Waltrip Racing, slid down pit road and then got T-boned by pit wall and was a pretty not great crash, and then just hit the fuel cell too, so fuel was just pouring out. So luckily nobody got hurt, but it was just one of the more interesting wrecks in NASCAR, hitting the way he did pit wall.
Some of those close calls that they show where they're like coming at those walls like that sideways, you're just like, whew, thank you that they did not hit that, because those seem uncomfortable to be wrapped around.
Yeah. Oh, I couldn't imagine that happening to today's car, since the chassis is so much more stiffer with the way the new car is built, the current gen. But yeah.
I mean, it's almost like if you want to like try to like, deter the like Austin Dillons, you almost have to make them like slightly more dangerous, but like you can't do that.
I'm so mad I was not able to talk about that last week when I had the chance, because we recorded before it happened. But
yeah, that was an insane ending.
Yeah.
I mean, do you agree with like what NASCAR did? Because I mean, like again, like counting as a win, sure, whatever, fine, I guess. I mean, I think that that playoff, like cutting out the ability to go to the playoff with that win is probably about the worst thing that you can happen as a driver if you want to race. So I think it's pretty fair punishment for what should be over the line racing.
No, I totally agree with what they did, to where it's just so obviously blatant that you right hook the guy coming underneath you to pass the win. Now, obviously, when you're banging door to door to the finish line, totally acceptable. But when it's just so obvious, you have zero chance of winning that race coming down the stretch, and you just
even though we wouldn't want to like quote him, but like it's kind of like what Logano said, where he's just like, yeah, like a bump and run is like I would expect a bump and run, not just throw me into the wall. So
yeah, but
and yeah, you expect a bump and run there, just not like a hi, see you later.
Just a total I'm gonna wreck you so I can win. Yeah, I agree with what they did, but obviously it was a very big talking point and brought a lot of discussion to the sport. So I kind of appreciate it in that way, but also, I mean, justice was served. So
when I'm like listening to like my like NFL podcast and like something like that, like breaks contain, and they're talking about a NASCAR finish, that's when you're like, oh yeah, we're cooking now, we're cooking.
Right, it's good for the sport, but not. Just keep it at a very minimal, maybe once per season or every other 5 seasons. So, what did you have? Are you benching or playing this week, Josh?
Oh, I 100% will be benching, and I will be benching new free agent addition for the New York Giants, Bobby Okereke. I don't know if you heard, but on the NFL Spotlight podcast, he was quoted as saying, "We're that yappy, scrappy, pissed off team. We're going to surprise some people. Oh, not yappy. We're that young. Well, they can be yappy at this point, but we're that young, scrappy, pissed off team. We're going to surprise some people." And for me, that's just a major bench, because nobody's scared to play the Giants. People are more scared to play on the field that's their home turf than they are to play that actual team. Like there's nothing more that I bench more than just like New York media when it comes to specifically the Giants. Because if you guys were a winning team, if you were consistently winning, then like sure, I could believe it. Or if you were something that we're getting the train rolling, but like we're on what, the 3rd or 4th year of the Brian Daboll experience, and it's almost like, oh, that guy's probably gonna flame out after this year.
When you stick with Daniel Jones as your quarterback, and I know you sent me this tweet of him throwing a pick 6 in the red zone.
It's like take the 2-point loss and give him the ball back and pray for your defense. Don't give him a touchdown. But yeah, I mean, and a part of that is like, yeah, that the GMing decision to keep Daniel Jones in exchange for Saquon Barkley as an Eagles fan. Thank you. We'll take that. But but yeah, that'll continue to be one of the most baffling front end decisions that has ever been made. And they continue to reap what they sow. I kind of hope they turn it around, but like as far as like the hierarchy of hatred when it comes to NFC East fandom, for me it is the Cowboys, and then there's like maybe a couple dots because of have a winning record, and maybe we'll talk about it, and then it's the Giants. But almost exclusively, I tune in for the Eagles to play the Giants in hopes that they beat them by 45 points, because that's what I expect.
And then there's us under 20 feet of crap. and we occasionally sneak out a win.
Yeah, that's what you it's almost like yeah, when everybody else has an off year, that's when it's Washington's year, and at some point hopefully somebody will change that.
Oh, you're doing well. Well, we're just gonna play our one game of the night and play really well and just stunt that little momentum you guys had, and then go back to our basement. Just slam the door back in our faces.
Oh, poor.
Yeah, the Dayball experience, 9-7-1 this first season, making the playoffs to beat the Vikings, I think. And then the following season, 6-11. What do you predict the Giants score to be for this, or the record, excuse me?
I'd probably have to look at their record real quick. I had it up somewhere. Yeah, here it is. Who they play. But again, I've seen a lot of talk about them being in competition for that first overall pick. Which if that's happening in the second week of preseason, like they might. I see they play Carolina in week 10. That could be a W. But other than that, I don't.
Dang, they have a tough schedule.
They have a hard schedule. Minnesota, that'll be an absolute. Somebody's got to win that game fest in week 1. Hopefully, Washington's more on the uptrends than they are. Cleveland, that defense is good. Dallas defense is good. Seattle's defense is pretty good. Cincinnati's defense is good. Philadelphia's defense is to be determined. So that's all the way up to like basically their bye week. That's tough.
What do you think about 4 wins for the Giants this season?
Probably at a maximum. Again, they're definitely in the lottery or the running for what could be the number 1 pick next year. I'd have to really go down and look and see what team I think for sure might get it. Maybe Carolina might be the only other team that is positioned there. It could just be from that NFC South division, because as much as people like to give the NFC East division crap about the one year they were bad, the NFC South is routinely bad all the time. But
yeah,
nobody cares about their matchups. That's why they're never on prime time. So.
Whoa. Yeah, it'll be the trio, and then the Panthers at the basement, and it'll just be Atlanta, New Orleans, and Tampa fighting for the Super Wild Card weekend 7 seed.
Oh man.
But interesting. But we'll go ahead and move on from our bencher play. Very good bench this week, Josh. We always appreciate Giant slander, so at least I do.
Oh yeah.
All right. Worst best tweet.
What did he say?
What do you mean? Brother, this guy stinks!
What? Bro, what are you talking about, man?
Josh, anything you saw this week?
Mine, my worst best was almost the same as yours. For the news was Nicolas Cage being cast as John Madden. What does that even mean? I think that's awesome. I think as long as they play to the eccentricities of just him himself. Ultimately what this comes down to is that Nick Cage is I don't know, maybe a block away from understanding what a turducken is and this cultural significance of that to football players, and that's magical.
They have to have the turducken in the biopic.
Listen, I will be smiles the whole movie until they don't do a turducken, and then the credits will roll, and it'll just be like Homelander just.
And then you see here, you got a duck, stuff inside of a chicken, stuff inside of a turkey.
But yeah, I want maximum telestration, and I want maximum turducken. Even though it is about what the Madden football franchise is a video game, so
right.
who knows?
Do you
Who
think?
knows what that'll be?
Do you think it'll be Nick Cage playing? It'll be John Madden, but Nick Cage as Nick Cage playing John Madden. Is that
I mean, I feel like everything is just outside of like what is it, the unbearable weight of massive talent, where Nick Cage was Nick Cage. I feel like everything is just Nick Cage playing how Nick Cage would interpret the character, which I mean, I guess that's just acting, but but I mean, like, I couldn't be more excited to just see what sort of weird Joker football-esque amalgamation of people is combined to create a Nicolas Cage John Madden. That's
yeah.
hopefully it doesn't get canceled mid-production.
Yeah, we wouldn't want that to happen. Yeah, in a sense, I was trying to explain it as The Rock playing himself as The Rock in every movie, or Kevin Hart, and so on. But yeah, hopefully the turducken makes a featured appearance in this biop. And boom, you're on a turducken. It's a duck and a turkey.
That's the only thing I'm hoping for.
My worst or best tweet, I have a worst and I have a best. The Cleveland Guardians baseball announcer tweeting, this guy would want to kill himself after hanging that pitch.
Oh my god. Rick Manning, national treasure. Guy says what's on his mind.
Clearly.
It's probably one of the better experiences of all of just baseball watching for me, is just like literally just like kind of Rick Manning and how Andre Knott's the sideline reporter for the Guardians, big Guardians fan, as you can see by the flag. I just enjoy how they interact. And yeah, that was not what I was expecting to hear after watching an absolute missile of a ball getting blown up. But I mean, it was a fair assessment.
Did you happen to watch that live at all?
Oh yeah. I mean, I didn't have. Well, but the problem was I had it on like a lower TV. I didn't have it on like the top TV. So, I was scrolling through Twitter after after it happened, because I mean it was an absolute nuke. I don't remember who was it that hit it.
What was it, number 43 for the Guardians?
I'm trying to think. Is that? Oh, that's Big Christmas. That's Jakeem Noel.
Yeah.
And he's been a pretty good fun rookie to watch this year. So I mean, like, I was more or less trying to find the absolute nuke job that he put on that ball. But yeah, Smiley did a pretty bad job of of wearing his emotions on his face. There's a couple other ones. I know that Andrew Chafin had one where David Fry hit a homer and he goes, "How the heck did he hit that?" It was so plain to see. So, starting, pitchers versus the Guardians when they connect with the ball. A team that's hitting contact just happens to nuke one up for power, and it's making some good reactions from some pitchers.
Yeah, clearly. Big Christmas. What a nickname.
Oh yeah, Noel as a last name. There's one where he's like, I think it was it might have been the radio announcer, he'll just say ho 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 a lot anytime something like that happens, and it's been fun to play with.
Local radio broadcast for baseball teams, those guys always come up with the best not gimmicky, but what's the word I'm trying to think of? They just create some of the best, like, unique stuff about that comes with the team and the players. So,
and if you didn't know, as somebody who just watches baseball mostly on the MLB app, like, most of the time you can join in on your video broadcast and just change it over to the radio broadcast for sound, and it's a pretty good experience there and there too if you've got a good radio announcer for your team.
Right. And then I think precursor to the same game, Machine Gun Kelly threw out the first pitch.
Yep.
And he, instead of throwing it was just a bit outside into the like right along the third baseline. It
might have been a ground rule double.
Yeah.
How to play. Yeah, he just launched one.
And then I'll put it up, but a guy said Angel Hernandez would have called that a strike.
There's a certain generation where Angel will forever get strays, and you know what? It couldn't happen to a more deserving human.
Yeah, I was gonna say there's no one who deserves it more. Yes, I'm glad he's retired and he still catches heat for his pitiful umpiring job, calling strike zone, and it's in legal print too. For when he fought, it was like, "Oh, come on, I don't get a call, World Series." Well, you're
bad.
Oh, funny. Well, that'll do it for worst or best tweet, and then we'll move on to our final top five. Okay, how am I going to preface this? Top five teams we think will fall out of the college football AP poll top 25 teams. So
Yes.
let's say that 5 times fast. I'm not going to bother. Do you want me to start out with my number 5, or would you like to go ahead?
I could go just because mine will be short. I
Go
mean,
for it.
I think number 5, I think a pretty safe pick could just be Iowa. I mean, they always kind of seem to end up being ranked at the end of the season anyways, because they'll win however many games. But some of the news coming out of their new offensive coordinator pick is that it's just more of the same, which I would imagine if you're Kirk Ferentz, if you're trying to protect the legacy of your son, which is being an awful offensive coordinator, you probably aren't making the greatest pick because you have the most job security in college football. So yeah, I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if they fall out of the top 25 by the end of the year.
Nepotism, it is the best. Yeah, they have. I don't know how they'll bend. I mean, they have Iowa State, kind of a tricky game. Minnesota came off a not so great season. Ohio State, that should be a face stomping. Washington, who we really hate. Hopefully they win. Michigan State. I think they win 8 games like they normally do, and maybe they fall out, maybe they don't. They'll be all receiving votes, so to speak.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah, that defense will always get votes. Yeah, I mean, I think that that's probably the most interesting bit about just the Big Ten as a whole is just how do those former Pac-12 teams integrate into that league and how well are they going to actually be like competitive week over week? So
Yeah, I think I'll go off the same similar. My number 5 will be Kansas. Uh, Kansas, they're gonna have I don't know how good they are. I could be totally wrong, and KU fans could just hate on me. That's fine. But teams such as TCU, Houston won't be that great. Kansas State, I think towards the tail end they'll fall out. Maybe they go 7 games and they lose their maybe last 5 because it's pretty tough. So that's what I kind of see out of Kansas for number 5.
they've been like a reoccurring like up and coming program lately. So I mean, in a year where you're expanding the playoffs, like I would imagine for them it's probably like hopefully we try to sneak in or
Yeah.
maybe try to make another big step. I mean, that's certainly a team they've been trending in the right direction, and you just hope they continue to trend. But I wouldn't be surprised if they have a couple shocker games with the new shake up in college football.
It'll just be another team that's receiving votes probably by the end of the season, if I had to guess.
Just like looking at those reporters that are just looking at who's got what schedule and just being like, I don't know, Kansas State.
Yeah, exactly. Who's your number 4?
Yeah, they'll be like Kansas State. The
Yeah.
BYU is one of those teams that just randomly gets votes at the end of the year too.
Oh yeah.
But my number 4, and I don't think this is I think it's a bit surprising at how low they are on just my personal list, but just Texas A&M. I mean, they've tried to. This is the second year in a row of them, I guess, trying to microwave a championship, and it didn't go so great last year. Like they didn't even make a bowl game. So again, I definitely you got to show me something because I remember looking last year at Arizona winning, trending in the good direction, winning a bunch of games, and looking at Texas A&M being like 3-5 or something and still being in the top 10. It's like somebody's got to like. I get it, the talent is there, but if the talent is just talent, if the coaching isn't coaching, like put that on a t-shirt.
Microwaving a championship.
I mean, yeah, they're just trying. They're like, these plus fives, these 5-star recruits, this 5-star recruit. Yeah, we got oil money back here. You want to come have some fun and maybe go to a midnight shout or whatever it is, that weird thing that they do. Pay homage to a weird little dog.
Farmers fight. Yeah, Notre Dame, Florida, Arkansas, Mizzou, Mississippi. No, I won't count Mississippi State. Sorry, LSU, Auburn, Texas to end the season, which I'm happy to see that rivalry be restored. Yeah, I don't see them doing too hot this year, and they have a new coaching staff after Jimbo and all the money left.
And
but
I think that third week barometer game surely is against Florida. Like you might they might win Notre Dame. Notre Dame's another good team to fall out of the top whatever, but they're going to make the playoffs because they're Notre Dame, and the college football playoffs have a hard on for Notre Dame. Um, yeah, you'd expect them to beat McNeese, but Florida the same. They have a really tough beginning schedule, and I could see them being a bit of that Texas A&M of old last year, where it's like, yeah, you guys have a tough schedule and you played competitively, so we'll sneak you into the rank. But
No, UF is going through the wood chipper.
yeah,
They come out unscathed.
if they come out with at least 3 out of 4 of their limbs, it'll be good.
Hopefully not fried gator by the end of the season. But I'm not going to be exciting. I'm going to go with Texas A&M at number 4 as well. I will tail your number 4 too. So
Yeah. And I forgot. I mean, we'll get the notes in here for number 3 when we're ready, but I do have a funny note there for them.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Do you want me to go with my number 3?
Up to you.
I'll do a little skipping because I can't stand this team. My number 3, USC. I think USC is gonna fall from grace. You can't tell me they've made any that big of an upgrade on defense with Lincoln Riley the way he likes to operate a team. Sure, they'll probably put up 40 points, and then they'll also be putting up another 40 points with their defense. They'll be giving up. Excuse me. LSU, Michigan. Oh, LSU away. Well, at LSU, at Michigan, they're going to play Penn State. They're going to play Washington. They're going to play Nebraska. They're going to play Notre Dame in that rivalry game at the end of the season. Wisconsin. I don't think they're going to be playing against the Big Ten, who likes to run out the clock, have really tough-nosed defense. I just don't see it. I just don't see how they're going to be able to stay in the top 25.
Yep. I have SC farther down my list, so I'll get my thoughts touched there. But yeah, for my number 3, I picked LSU.
Really?
Brian Kelly's bad vibes for me, and
Family.
if I'm going for the only person who probably has worse vibes than Brian Kelly was my number 4 pick, Jimbo Fisher with Texas A&M. Their defense last year, similar to SC, was atrocious. Like it was not good. I mean, again, I feel like the whole intention of hiring Brian Kelly there was like, yeah, we should be relevant almost immediately. And they almost immediately were relevant in the ways that you don't want to be. So it's definitely a huge year for him. I'm kind of out on it. I definitely don't think that he should have left Notre Dame, because I think Notre Dame is one of those sweet jobs where you're relevant just because you're Notre Dame, and like, that's it. So, yeah, I mean, they got a lot of good talent on there this year. They had a lot of good talent last year, and it was just so they're my number 3. I think that I mean, if everything's perfect in this world and the SEC bias is out, I think LSU is a team that's certainly as a spot to fall away.
By the time they get to their 6th game, which will be a true test, they'll play Ole Miss, Arkansas, Texas A&M, Bama, Florida, Vandy, Oklahoma, and similar to USC. But they should be thanking USC because they took most of the spotlight. But they were a similar team when they were letting up a bunch of points. And that offense by Jaden Daniels was having to put up points to win games.
Yeah.
So I could see that happening.
Yeah, they would be a late falling team for sure, because I mean, they've got cupcakes the whole first half of the season. I mean, that's a big game for, I think, our top our list in general is that first week USC LSU game. Like, what predominant takeaway are we going to have from that game for which teams? Like, what is the team that you're going to be like, oh, well, they beat LSU, right? When they're like trying to tally together who's where at the end of the year, or, they beat USC.
Yeah. We'll see how that shakes out with LSU, but I can dig that pick. I'll go with my number 2, University of Oklahoma, currently ranked at 16 with Brent Venables. I don't know how to pronounce his name. Coaching that team with Jackson Arnold, 5-star quarterback, could be promising, but they have a tough schedule. I don't like it. I don't see them being able to stay in the top 25, even though it is Oklahoma, and they also do have another crappy defense, and they lost a lot of players. Tennessee, Auburn, Texas, South Carolina, Ole Miss, Mizzou, Bama, LSU. They're gonna lose. I think they lose at least 6 games, and that's not to fault of their own because they're playing a really tough schedule, but
Yeah.
they're not going to survive, I don't think.
Oh, upset Tulane. Let's hope.
Because what? Maybe their best matchup of the year would be playing against Texas in the Red River rivalry, and that's
Mhm.
probably one of the only games you get up for the whole season. Well, guess what? You're gonna have to get up at least another 7 times this season, the way it's looking.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah,
So
I could see that. I mean, I don't necessarily. Yeah, that's a hard schedule.
yeah,
And I
and the
mean,
Big 12.
and I think I'm so intrigued to see how the whatever if it's the AP committee, playoff committee, how much they're going to value like those teams that are your American Conference, your MAC, your Sun Belt, all of those lower, like who if any of those teams in those divisions go undefeated, like where are they going to slot above these teams that have these harder schedules? Like I mean, maybe from the group of five, you might see two or three teams. Hopefully, if we're cool at like 12, 12, 11, 10. But like, I'll be pretty upset if it's like a 5-7 Texas A&M that's slotting in at number 11 over like Akron, who might have, or not Akron, probably not Akron, but if they for chance had like an undefeated season, like that's the hopes of the 12 team playoff, is that you get some of these teams that don't have that opportunity to come in and maybe show us what you got.
Well, if you're able to watch what these voters should be doing their jobs and watching these teams with 2 losses, 1 losses play their schedule, I think it's pretty noticeable to where you could tell a 1 loss team out of a smaller non-power 4 conference, sorry, Pac-12, can be able to step up and play a power 4 school, the Bamas, the LSUs, the Michigans, the Ohio States. It could
Mhm.
be pretty telling, but yeah.
Because that's always my argument, is like a guy growing up in Idaho as a Boise State fan was like, we played Oklahoma in
Yep.
that Fiesta Bowl and we rolled them, and we
Perfect
didn't roll them,
example.
but we won, and we won, and like we should not have won that game, but that is exactly one of the core memories from my entire life as a football fan. Like that's what made me mostly a football fan. So we just hope we get some of those more magical matchups.
No, that's a perfect example. The Boise States pulling out and showing out
Mhm.
during those big bowl games. Whether those teams could be Appalachian State coming out of the Sun Belt or gosh, shoot. Yeah, I'm sorry, I can't think of any at the top of my head, but you gotta show some love to those teams. I like
Yeah,
variety.
exactly. Where big, I want a big, what is it? The where you're purely picking off like kind of like basketball, where you're picking off jersey aesthetics. That's where I want to be for college football, where it's just like I want my aesthetics, one that I'm just gonna pick based off how the jerseys look, and then a for
Oh
real,
yeah.
a for real bracket for my smarts.
Oh, without question. Yes, sir.
So am I going? Should I do my number two?
Yeah, absolutely. Let's hear it.
So my number two, I think, is Clemson, and I know that they're picked pretty, and I think this is a pretty controversial pick because I know that they're pegged to be kind of one of the favorites of the ACC. But I think we're seeing the door close on that program. I don't know how many more years we might see Dabo Sweeney if he continues with his whole idea of like we don't use the transfer portal, because we've clearly seen a bunch of teams in the last 2 or 3 years that have better than Texas A&M, to use that phrase again, microwaved a bunch of wins by collecting a bunch of talent and bringing them in and ultimately bolstering their team deeper and better than all the other ones. And so, yeah, I mean, I think that there's a lot of fun that could happen in the ACC. I'm big on Miami. I think you if you're what's his name, Mario Cristobal, you've got to take the bad taste of last year out of the mouth and not lose to Georgia Tech and whoever else bull BS team that you should not be losing to. So yeah, I think Clemson is certainly um, a program that might soon be on the decline, just in the modern age of what football's turning into.
I agree because that is my number one. Give me number Clemson at number one. With the K Klubnik offense, Dabo not using the transfer portal.
First year QB, right?
Week one for the Aflac kickoff will be in the Mercedes Dome against Georgia. To say that they're not good, the spread is currently at Georgia's a 14-point favorite. I think they'll handily cover that.
Mhm.
App State's not going to be a cakewalk since they're perceived as the top Sun Belt contender. They get upset by NC State at home. I think NC State might have a little underdog power with them. I'm not going to go over the Stanford game. That'll be a win. Florida State, I don't think they win Florida State on the road.
Because I would have Florida State above them in the conference anyways.
Yeah, they'll move over Wake Forest and Virginia, and then they play Louisville. Louisville's another Seeky team receiving votes. I think they stay in the top 25. Virginia Tech, I think they're going to be playing them there. I forgot where Virginia Tech's located. Whoops, but they're never well, depending on which Virginia Tech you get, they're going to lay down or put up a fight. And then the last 3 games, Pitt, Citadel, and South Carolina. But I don't think that's going to be enough for them to get back into the top 25.
Yeah, maybe. I mean, again, like that too. I guess like maybe Pitt, Citadel, South Carolina. If they can beat those teams by 20 points, then they might make their way back into maybe doing something fun. But yeah, I mean, I think that's the biggest thing for me is just seeing what it's like to have a major program that is expected to have something positive happen for them this year, not willing to take transfers, because it just seems crazy to me, especially with like all the hype that Dion provides. I know that we don't have Matt, so we haven't had much of a Dion discussion this week.
You ain't out the truth.
But specifically, like, yeah, like that's kind of what he did, and they became irrelevant in almost the worst ways last year, but and almost continuously this year. But if they get some O-line talent there, then yeah, I mean, Clemson, I think there's a way that, especially if you're really, really banking on a first-year QB in the ACC being what's going to take you to the promised land.
I will make a point before you go to your number 1, but it's Blacksburg, sorry, in Virginia. And then to bring up Colorado talk, something cool, they had Warren Sapp as their D-line coach, which I didn't know, and that's also sick. They had a little POV camera on him for, I guess, one of Dion's sons who does his media YouTube for the team. They had Warren Sapp wearing a GoPro, his POV, coaching the D-line, so I thought that was cool.
That's sick. So I guess I'll go right into my number 1. And my number 1, which was already talked about earlier on the list, again, my number 1, USC. And for me, it is just not believing in any Pac-12 lineman team on either side of the trenches. You're entering the Big Ten. You're entering corn-fed trench football. And there's nothing more that you can tell in college football about what a team will do is just by physicality of the second half. So much of college football is just trying, if you're playing a opponent that is far superior than you, is just not killing yourself too bad in the first half, and then hoping that you have the legs still underneath you in the second half to continue to win your matchups, which 9 times out of 10 those lesser teams do not. And so I know from watching Pac-12, it's not the biggest trench warfare, I guess, as a conference. I think that should totally be a Big Ten shirt. Big Ten trench warfare. That's a great idea. But yeah, and on top of that, like, who's going to replace Caleb Williams? Like, the only reason that they were relevant in 90% of the games against the Pac-12 was Caleb Williams.
Miller Moss is their new QB for the season, who's garnered some hype. So
yeah, which I am buying most of the Caleb Williams stock for the Bears.
Yeah,
which is big. It's a big character development for me because I am not a USC guy. But yeah, I mean, a continuation of what you said with Lincoln Riley with the defense. I mean, last year they couldn't stop a 3-legged sloth. Like, they were just not. It was like when I'm watching, like, when I'm expecting every team to score against you, and then Caleb Williams to run around jiving all over the place. He's throwing something across the field and they're just scoring points because of his pure excellence. It's just like, I'm 100% out on them being a ranked team for the majority of this season.
Damn, I kind of want to put USC higher now. But yeah, no, Miller Moss, their new QB. I don't care what you say. Going from Caleb Williams to the drop off's going to be huge no matter who comes after him. So
yeah,
that offense, do they put up 40 points on average? Maybe it might be a little lower than that, and that could be a huge difference to win.
I mean, schematically, they're probably good for 35 every week.
Whether that wins them games with the defense giving up 50 points, we'll see.
And yeah, like, just, yeah, Pac-12 linemen, they're good, but like, I mean, you just look at the next level. There no teams building their cornerstone O linemen off guys that come drafted out of Washington, USC, or Utah. Well, Utah kind of, but
Yeah, I think Oregon will have the best transition coming into the Big Ten, which that's not like it's not saying that pretending as if that's high value because they're the best team, that's for sure, with all the weapons they have, but not going out on a limb saying that. So,
which I mean, I will be drinking the haterade every weekend that Oregon is playing whoever.
hey, Matt and I have been just drooling to watch the Ohio State versus Oregon game. We're pretty pumped about that.
It'll be a tense game.
Yeah. Who would you want to bet on in that one? Maybe the over. We'll see.
Yeah, certainly, probably that. I mean, yeah, it kind of depends on who's getting plus money. If Oregon's a dog, depending on how much it is, maybe. If Ohio State's a dog, absolutely. Which they probably won't be a dog, but I don't know. That's
Well, they're on the road. They're on the road, so they could.
You think? It might just be. It'll probably pick them.
Possibly. And if I had to guess the over under, probably 63 and a half. Be a good decent line. Not sure,
Yeah.
but
Because yeah, you get. I mean, what is it you get from being at home? They normally start with like a touchdown, maybe college, maybe 4 or 5 points, and then you add in the already handicapped of it being Ohio State. Those fans travel well. They're all over the place. The Ohio national pastime is leaving Ohio. So I mean, like, they're all over the place. So
yeah,
and I mean that as respectfully as possible. I do love my Ohioans.
We are definitely Ohio enjoyers.
Exactly.
But that'll do it for our top 5. Any closing thoughts, Josh?
There's already been enough Arizona love on this podcast to satiate a small army, and I will continue to satiate that small army with the Arizona love. Very excited to see what Brennan does as his first year as head coach. And that's about it. That's my closing thoughts. I'm just excited to watch U of A football.
Yeah, we'll love to have you back on, especially when you and Jake get to fist fight each other in Eagles Cowboys this season.
Oh yeah. It'll be a lot of arms crossed angry talk like this in the corner for whoever loses.
I'll just toss like a piece of meat and watch you two go at it.
Who's the better starting quarterback in there?
That'll do